Hi, I'm Peter Knight. I want to talk today about the pitch shot action. Now, this is part of a series on pitching, and if you missed the first one, then just go back, have a look in the channel. It's the video on pitching setup. When we play a pitch shot, what we're looking to do is have minimal motion, or minimal unnecessary motion, or limiting it to just what we need, I guess is the way to say it. It's so easy to try and overdo things with pitching as far as technique goes. You know, do I hinge my wrists? I need to use my hands. I've got to have a feel for pitching. All of these phrases are used to describe how the pitch shot is played or should be played. What we're really looking to do is just keep the movement to a minimum. Now, unless I'm playing a long pitch shot, I'm not going to need very much club head speed. So I don't need to set myself up or swing like I would for a normal full power shot. So if I'm aiming to hit a shot to a pin up there, it's just leaning slightly on the side. Now that pin's about probably 35 meters away from me, so 40 yards. So I don't need a lot of power for that shot. And in fact, I'm using my pitching wedge as opposed to a more lofted pitching club, you know. So my pitching wedge has got about 46, 48 degrees on it. Other wedges that I've got have 52, 56 and 60. Now the more lofted club, the harder I have to hit it. But if we look at the motion itself, when I swing the club back and through, if I put these clubs on the ground and line them up toward my target, this is going to give me an indication of the path that I want the club to swing on. So when I'm setting myself up, the bottom of the shaft of my club is pointed right to these lines here. As I swing the club away from the ball, the bottom of my club points and traces a line along that shaft there. So you can see my club hasn't gone back straight, it's actually pointed back on a line to it. As I continue back, the shaft of the club's now about parallel with the clubs on the ground. Now the grip end of the club's lower to the ground, so it's pointed to the clubs on the ground. And depending on how far back, that's going to continue. In the downswing, the reverse occurs. So the end of the club points to the line along the ground. Now the head end points to it and travels along it all the way through. Now as I'm doing that, you'll notice that my body is actually turning when I make that movement. So as I swing the club back and through, there is some body turn going back, not a lot. And then as I swing down and through, my body is going to turn through. So I'm not trying to keep my body still as I go back and through. It's turning, but it's turning quite centered. I'm not going to hit a ball with that club there. But when I swing the club back and through, again, I'm looking to keep the club moving on the correct path and allow my body to turn with it. Now, when I am swinging the club back and through, I mentioned at the start of the video about whether or not we use the hands. The feeling is that there should be minimal wrist movement. One, you don't need it because you don't need the power. And second, it just starts to create a different variability, especially with players who start to struggle a little bit with their pitching. So when my club swings back, because my body's turned and my right arm has started to fold a little bit, naturally my wrists are going to hinge a little, but not a lot. So as I go back, I'm not trying to let my wrist hinge a lot. I'm actually keeping the movement with a very, very small hinge. That means when I swing back toward the ball, I feel like I don't really need to unhinge the club as it swings through. So I'll just move the ball here and play a shot for you. So when the club swings back and through, you'll see my body will move a little bit. The club will swing on the correct path and there'll be minimal wrist movement. Okay, and that easily went that 35 meters. In the next video, what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at some of the key elements of the dynamics of the movement. And I'll explain what that is in the next video. So remember, if you didn't see the first video on how to set up, go back and watch that. And then with this one, we're focusing on the path of the club, minimizing wrist movement and having the body motion as more of a spinning movement rather than sort of big transfer of weight.